Well, it's about that time again. Modern Warfare 3 Season 4 is here, so today we're going to be diving in and checking it out. First things first, let's go ahead and go over here to the Battle Pass. As always, we got a couple new weapons, first of which being the Kar 98K. At the time I'm recording this, I haven't had the chance to unlock it yet, but I'm sure this thing is going to be pretty deadly over in Warzone. I mean, like, I'm sure they've done some balance adjustments and tweaks to it to make it not as lethal as it was before, but at that point, what's the point? You know what I mean? Like, you got to be at least somewhat faithful to the original and have it be just a little overpowered. Then we also have this new SMG called the Superi 46. I also got this new event going on, which is essentially like that zombie skull event they had at the first half of season 2. Basically, every time that you get a kill, you know, the enemies are going to be dropping these DNA samples and you run around the map and pick them up. You have like 4 different tiers to it, and each tier, or there's going to be like more tiers unlocking each week. As far as the rewards go for this first tier here, it's really just giving you like XP tokens and stuff like that. For the second one, there's a security clearance thing, safety first, just a spill, and a double Battle Pass XP token. And then here in the third tier, we got mission debrief, a double weapon XP token, as well as a tier skip, and then in the final tier, we have a double XP token, as well as exerting control. I believe all of these things are literally just like calling cards, emblems, weapon stickers, and stuff like that. But if you go through and master all 4 of these things, then at the end of the event, you're going to unlock this World Ender blueprint for the FR 5.56 assault rifle. It does look pretty sick. Like, it's animated. It has like all the different things going on it with like the sonar radar, then like the percent bar that keeps like filling up. Like, it's a pretty sick weapon. Otherwise, when we come up here to the weekly challenges, as always, you know, we got 8 weeks of these to do. Once you complete the week 1 challenges, you unlock the Jack Harbinger kit. But the thing that I'm pretty sure we're, you know, all interested in here is the Helical Reverb camo that you'll unlock for completing all 8 weeks of the weekly challenges. And as you can see here, I would say that this is right up there with Season 2 as being one of the best ones. Season 1 was a little meh. Season 3 was decent. Season 2 with the Rotten Inferno camo was absolutely sick. And I don't know which one I like more between this one and Rotten Inferno. I probably still like Rotten Inferno a bit more, but this is like right there almost tied with it. Like, this does look really cool. And the fact that I'm saying that, like, you know, Rotten Inferno still looks better in my opinion is really just like a subjective thing where it's just like, hey, I just prefer the look of the flames and all that. But otherwise, I would say in terms of like the animations and stuff, yeah, this is probably like the best one that we've had so far. Especially once you get into the game with like the right lighting and everything, like, I'm sure that's gonna look great. We also got some quote-unquote new modes in the game. Demolition finally returned. You know, this is a mode that has been in Call of Duty for, like, the longest time now. But alas, it's here as a quote-unquote brand new mode. Then you got Hyper Cranked, which is, like, cranked, but yeah, even more so. It takes place on all the small maps in the game. Think, like, Stash House, Meat, Shipment, and stuff like that. And essentially, you gotta spawn in, and there's a timer that starts, like, literally as soon as you spawn in, you gotta run around the map, keep the timer going, and yeah, it's basically just like normal Cranked. Now, we also got some new maps in the game, but unfortunately, as always, I know I probably sound like a broken record because I always complain about this, but they only have one 24/7 playlist, and it's for the Paris map. And while yes, this map is amazing, I would like to also play the other new content and maps in the game. Similar to last season where they introduced these Weapon Prestige camos, they have a new one here in Season 4. This one being the Molten Obsidian camo, and if you were there for Modern Warfare 2019, yeah, it's essentially like an animated version of that original Obsidian camo. You need 200,000 weapon XP to unlock this. Just like last season's though, even if you unlock it on one weapon, you'll only have it for that weapon. So if you want to unlock it for every single weapon in the game, you'll need to go through and get 200,000 weapon XP for every single weapon in the game. So be very careful, be very cautious with what weapons you spend your time trying to unlock the camo for. Otherwise, though, yeah, it looks like a pretty sick camo, and I'll definitely be grinding for it. But anyways, yeah, here is the new Paris map, and I mean, it's a pretty solid map. I'll go ahead and pull up the tab map so you guys can kind of get like an idea for the flow and size of the map and everything like that. And it's definitely, it's more of like a medium-sized map, right? Like, it isn't something super large like a Stonehaven, but it's also not like a Shipment by any means. It's just like that nice sweet spot. You got the basic ground level stuff where you're like running around the streets and stuff like that, but then you also got like a little bit of elevation here and there, and all in all, it seems to flow relatively well. I will say it's kind of hard to judge these things at first because obviously everybody's still trying to learn the map, everybody's still trying to learn the routes and the spawns and stuff like that. But I mean, you know, learning spawns nowadays is kind of irrelevant compared to back in the day. Back in the day, learning the spawns was basically learning like half the map, you know, learning the rotations and stuff like that. And while there is still elements of it to this day, the spawns are generally so busted that it doesn't even matter. It's just like, hey man, if you see an enemy, try to pop them and just make sure you're paying attention to your positioning, because otherwise, yeah, I don't know. But anyways, yeah, back to talking about the map itself. Like I said, it looks great. It flows pretty well so far. We'll just have to see how things go. I've been loving the post-launch support in this game. Like, when it comes to all the new maps that they've added, there hasn't been a single one that I could point at and be like, oh yeah, that map sucks, or I don't want to play that map. Like, all of them have looked great. They flowed great. Meat was the perfect slaughterhouse type map, you know, similar to like your stash houses and DAS houses and shipments and stuff like that. Just like a nice smaller map. You had stuff like Rio and Vista, Greece, and now Paris. Like, there's genuinely been just so many amazing maps that they put put into this game. And again, out of all of them, there's not a single one I can point at and be like, oh yeah, that map sucked or anything like that. Like, I've generally just have fun playing on all of them. That being said, the fact that we still don't have dedicated 24/7 playlists to each of the new maps does really irk me, but nonetheless, I hope they end up doing what they did last season, where they make like a dedicated season 4 mosh pit, because that was a really cool feature that they had last season. Even though, yes, you couldn't just dive in and choose like the specific map that you wanted to play if you hadn't experienced it yet, at least it was more of like a confined playlist, so you were almost guaranteed to get whatever map you were specifically looking for, at least eventually. It's kind of crazy that we're already in season 4. That means that we're past halfway of this game's life cycle. And when you think about it, usually the new Call of Duties end up launching while there's still like a solid week, 2, sometimes even upwards of 3 weeks left in the final season of the game. So if anything, we're looking at what, 55 days for this season, 55 days for season 5, and then maybe like what, 40 true days of like the final season before Black Ops 6 releases. I mean, they might do things differently this year, so then it doesn't interfere as much, and then wait until like the final day of season 6 to release Black Ops 6, and then it'll just kind of be like a down pre-season, season 0 type thing like they usually do, just then kind of like iron out the launch of the game before launching season 1. Speaking of which, they ended up revealing some of the things that will be coming with the Vault edition of Black Ops 6, which I pre-order the Vault edition of the game every single year. They were showing off a bunch of cool skins for like wood, stuff in zombies, gobblegums, and stuff like that. Like, I am so excited for Black Ops 6. It is not even funny. This is the longest that we've ever been without a Black Ops game. The longest stretches of time we ever had before was between Black Ops 2 and Black Ops 3, and then between BO3 and BO4, which was obviously only 3 years, but 4 years, dog. It's been literally almost half a decade when you think about it between Black Ops Cold War and Black Ops 6. And as I've said before, Black Ops 2, that's my favorite Call of Duty of all time, and as much as I love all the other sub-series in Call of Duty, you know, like, I love all of them. I genuinely can't pick a favorite between, like, Modern Warfare, Advanced Warfare, Black Ops. Like, I love them all like they're my children. That being said, once you get that good Treyarch game and just that amazing masterpiece of a campaign, the amazing fun arcadey multiplayer, as well as Treyarch round-based zombies specifically, it just hits different. Call of Duty always feels like a complete package, but when you get that Treyarch game with the zombies and all that other stuff on top of it, it just feels like you're getting even more than what you paid for. Not to mention the fact that this is also the longest that a Call of Duty game has ever had to be in development, because obviously usually for most games it's only like somewhere between 2 to 3 years, and in the case of Modern Warfare 3, if the leaks and rumors and stuff that we heard are to be believed, they had about like what, 18 months to work on this game at most. Black Ops 6 on the other hand has had like what, 4 years to be in development, and apparently they've been playtesting it for like 2 years at this point. Something is telling me we're in for quite a trip this year. Well, while we're at it, I guess we might as well dive in and try out the new Hyper Cranked mode. As I said before, it is pretty fun. You know, you spawn in, there's a timer on the screen, you gotta kill somebody before it runs out. It's essentially just like normal Cranked, but it doesn't even feel as crazy as normal Cranked, because normally normal Cranked, you know, your movement gets like doubled if not tripled in speed, but in this it doesn't really feel like that. If y'all have been watching the videos consistently over the last year or so, I've been having so many troubles with controllers, so I just recently switched over to this, you know, just kind of like cheapo third-party controller that I bought back in like, I don't know, 2017, 2018, just because like my main controller bit the dust, and then the other Xbox One controller that I was using just like ended up getting like this weird stick drift thing, which in itself was pretty sad because I really love my Series X controller, so when that bit the dust, you know, there's just something about the triggers and the grips and everything on that controller that I just love. So that was the original one that I was using. Then I went to the Xbox One controller, which, as I was talking about, had like the stick drift and everything, and now I've been using this third-party Xbox One one, and it does this weird thing where in the menus, it'll like, it'll act as if I pressed it this way twice sometimes, and earlier when I was trying to sprint, it just wasn't registering some of my clicks. Like right now it seems to be fine, but it's one of those things, this is what my original Series X controller did when it was on its way out. It would start to have issues with the stick, but then it would go back to working after a little bit, so I'm assuming that this one's just on its way out right now, which means I guess it's time for me to stop being so cheap and, I don't know, buy a new Series X controller, but even when I do that, I'm gonna be waiting for a really steep sale. I just don't like spending money, you know, like, I don't know if it's just one of those things where, you know, since I grew up, I didn't have a lot of money growing up, right? It was check to check, white toast for breakfast, ramen for dinner, but nowadays, even if there's times where, like, I can't afford something, I almost feel, like, guilty for giving in and buying stuff that I want, even if I, like, even if I could afford to do it, just because it's one of those things, like, you know, what if I need that money for something else? What if an emergency comes up? What if there's just, like, I don't know, like, what if I need food? Now, me, you know, I have really bad OCD, and I'm not talking, like, the typical, like, Facebook mom type OCD, where it's like, oh, I need my rooms to be very clean, I need my setup to be organized a certain way. No, I'm talking, like, I've actually been diagnosed with it, and I have, like, a certain strand of it dubbed Just Right OCD. But anyway, with that, I extensively budget everything for, like, like, months in advance. I'm talking, usually when I'm doing my budgeting, I do it for upwards of the next year to figure out, like, when I need money at what points. And even at the points when I got room to wiggle a little bit, maybe get myself something nice, even if it's just, like, I don't know, like a cheap $5 shirt off of AliExpress, I still feel guilty for giving into those desires and, like, buying said thing. I know it's stupid and I've been working on it, And I mean, sometimes I don't have as much of an issue giving it. It just really depends on the day and my mindset that day, right? Like some days it's just like, all right, yeah, sure, whatever, you know, like I'll just give in and do it. But then other days I'm like, wait, what if I needed that? Then again, I'm also the same guy that overthinks what pair of underwear I'm gonna wear with my outfit, and if it actually matches what I'm wearing. It's my underdog. Nobody's gonna see it. This is part of why I don't have friends and why I've been single for so long. I just, it's not a thing of like where other people reject me. I just reject the idea of actually like putting myself out there and being around other people because I don't want them to have to deal with this. But then again, the feeling's mutual and I just kind of hate people and I don't really want to deal with them. So there's that too. I don't know what it is. I just hate people. I can't stand being around people. Even the people I love, I hate being around them. I'm just happy when I'm alone in my room playing video games and just doing my thing. I wake up, I work, I play video games, I go to sleep, and that's it. It's a cycle, and this is the happiest I've ever been. This is the happiest I'll ever be, and this is all I want to do till the day that I flop over. I spend as much of my time in the physical world trying to escape into the digital world, because that's the only time that I'm truly happy. But anyways, yeah, that's Season 4 of Modern Warfare 3. I'm gonna go ahead, grind out some of the events. I'm also gonna try to unlock the new weapons. I'll probably get out a video with the Kar98K by tomorrow. If I go grind heavy, I should also be able to unlock the new SMG while we're at it. Depending on when I can unlock each thing, it'll either be a situation where we cover both weapons in one video, or there's like kind of like a one video dedicated to each weapon while we're like grinding out camos and just stuff like that. Overall, pretty solid start to the season. But anyway, as always, massive shout out, thank you to all the Patreons and channel members, thank you to all in global junior, major shout out, thank you to all in the vidball tier, my last game is Dataman in the major shout out on GTA run events, and the cheese girl, thank you guys so much, guys. So little legends, I love you. Thank you guys for watching, have an amazing day, stay beautiful, I love you all. Peace.